Hey guys, it's Sims on here. So today I'm going to be talking about the first tourney I ran, which was Suffolk Smash. It was, well, not the first tourney, but the first big one I've run. I've run weeklies on this since May, but on the 1st of February 2020, so nearly 2 weeks ago from when I'm recording this, I ran Suffolk Smash. It was held in the Caffeine Lounge in Sudbury in Suffolk, and it had 46 for singles and 13 teams for doubles from what I remember. I entered myself. I got 13th in singles, 3rd in doubles of Hazard. But what I want to talk about the event itself, because I hadn't really run an event of that scale. The largest we've had at the weekly was about 25 for singles. So yeah, I just want to talk about that and all. Well, first off, we had a lot of good players come to the tourney. We had Lucretio, we had Kyleth, we had people in EOE who are also well known in the region. Mystical, you, Contact. There were quite a lot of skilled players who went there. Kyleth won the whole thing, both singles and doubles, along with Ariske, who's now known as Hot Wheels. So he won like 24 cans of Monster alongside his money prize as well. There were a lot of good players that went though, nonetheless. There were people from abroad as well that went. So on the side here is the Suffolk Smash graphic that was made soon after the event ended. So you can see top three: Kyleth, Lucretio, and Erling. And there are also other good players on that on the graphic as well. You, Mystical, Ricochet, Contact. And then there's also some surprising ones that appeared there as well. Elabot, he was seeded in the region of 20s, I believe, and he came 7th overall. There was also Aqua and Corval, who appeared higher, much higher than their predicted seed. So there's quite a lot of good players who went to the event. Another thing I wanted to talk about though was the switches we had. Not just the fact that we had switches in general, but like the fact that they were provided to us by Nintendo. So that means, you know, in the future, they're willing to work with us again and provide more. I'm hoping to have more next time, because this is what I'm going to talk about in a minute, but the fact that we had 8 switches, but I didn't split pools into 2 separate waves, so we had 8 pools going on at the same time, and that kind of had problems. It was delayed. It delayed the whole tourney by half an hour. Lucretio nearly missed the train home, so that's something that I need to plan out better next time, along with the rest of the team. Finally, the interest from Suffolk Smash was higher than we thought. So when I started the event, when I was making the plans along with Will, the owner of the lounge, and the rest of the team, I thought there was only going to be about 30 people roughly coming. That's what we predicted, and then there was nearly 50 people that signed up in the end. Bearing in mind, in the end, when the event ended, there was only 2 DQs. One couldn't make it. One was just too late. He just decided he would just DQ and just enter friendlies. So Star Bandit asked about on Twitter when the next Suffolk Smash would be. I plan to run this along with the lounge as well, who've also agreed on this. We plan to run it around every 2 or 3 months. I say this because a monthly does sound good, but the lounge themselves also run their own events, like regular FIFA events or first-person shooter events up there. They've started their own teams recently for first-person shooters. So that means to make it, quite fair, we agreed every 2-3 months roughly. So one of the points that could be improved for Suffolk Smash was the stream. Mainly the layout and the commentary. Now, it's not to say Hazard and Nugget didn't do a bad job on commentary. They were quite good for a first time. But a lot of the time, it just kind of seemed they were going a bit off topic, or they gave a bit of infactual information, from what I've been told from a few of the other people who went on commentary when nearby it. And I've watched a bit of it back, and there were times where they could have, well, they could have made a different choice. Like, instead of talking about themselves, they could talk about the player. If they're going to compare themselves to a player, then they can talk about the sort of experiences they've had with the character. Like, for example, if you see Link playing on the stream, you could say what you've done with Link and how effective that could be if the player used it on the gameplay. So what I plan to do next time is to have commentary, people in commentary swap out more often, so that it's not the same people every time. The layout also needs to be improved as well, because a lot of the space was taken up by the Caffeine Lounge's layout for their website, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I believe the people watching the stream would have preferred to see the gameplay more rather than a lot of flashing lights on the screen. Another thing, as I said earlier, was time. I should have managed the schedule better, because we nearly went half an hour over schedule because we didn't split pools into two separate waves, and that kind of caused delays because there were some people who were busy or had to come later, and that meant that they couldn't do their matches at the same time others could. And finally, the space in the venue. The venue's big. It's the biggest gaming lounge in the UK, but the area we had available to us, we kind of just cramped everyone in there. And when I look back on that, it did seem a bit uncomfortable. Like, in doubles, every chair was being used, but it was just kind of shoved in one area. So next time I'm going to try expand the area, because there's a section next to it that we were using for friendlies, but I reckon there's another section as well next to that. There's a smaller one that could be used for friendly. So the two sections that we have available to us can all be used for bracket matches, and then as the tourney goes on, they can be given for friendlies. And I'm gonna label the switches as well, just in case someone who brings a switch voluntarily is worried that it gets taken. I'll put security measures in, like I've seen at the DAT events or the regen events, where they zip tie the switch to the dock, and then they zip tie that as well to the table or the monitor, so that if anything's taken, what's obvious, like someone's trying to run off with a monitor and a switch. Overall, the event was a good one. I want to run it again in 2 or 3 months' time, as I said. Improvements to be made, but I'm proud of the team for helping me out run it. Proud of the Caffeine Lounge for running a good event. I believe it's one of the biggest we've had recently, one of the biggest in Ultimate we've had in East of England, as far as I remember. Obviously there's bigger ones like Eastern Front, but yeah, I'm happy with what we have, and next time I want to do a better one.